Reducing insecurity is one of the key concerns of voters in a country which is currently experiencing a kidnapping for ransom crisis, battling militant Islamist groups in parts of the north and a separatist insurgency in the southeast. Two of the most shocking cases last year were a mass shooting at a Catholic church in Owo and the storming by gunmen of a passenger train in which dozens of people were killed and kidnapped. Peter Obi's supporters, who appear to be younger Nigerians, are vocal on social media. President Buhari says he has fulfilled his promise to frontally and courageously tackle terrorism, but many Nigerians feel the country is still not safe.
There's been obviously concerns, political parties, even the electorate themselves, with the recent issue about the scarcity of Naira notes, the recent, monetary policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria to withdraw existing Naira notes of denomination of 500 and 1,000 Naira and then replace with new Naira notes, it has thrown the system into disarray. There's a lot of chaos. There's, concerns about the logistics and how it would hamper INEC's ability to conduct elections on Saturday. But, the central bank has assured INEC that it would make all the cash it wants available to it. So everybody is sitting, we all are waiting to see how it turns out. But like I said, depending on who you ask, you get, different opinions as to the preparedness of INEC and then the government to conduct elections on Saturday.
The economy is another area of concern to many. In 2022, inflation rose for 10 months in a row, just dipping to 21.3% according to the latest figures released last month. The rising cost of living has left many families struggling to make ends meet, with local media describing the situation as dire. Unemployment is also a major problem, leaving many graduates fearful that they may not find work even after years of university study. Latest figures from the country's National Bureau of Statistics show that 33% of the population is unemployed, jumping to 42.5% for younger adults. Despite being a major oil producer, 4 out of 10 Nigerians live below the poverty line and lack education and access to basic infrastructure such as electricity, safe drinking water, and improved sanitation, according to the World Bank. Many of the candidates have put these issues at the center of their campaigns, but these problems have been mounting for several years, leaving some Nigerians skeptical about whether whoever wins the election will actually be able to fix them. Despite the large number of registered voters, that is 93.5 million, concerns persist about apathy and how many people will actually show up on the day to cast their ballot. With almost 40% of registered voters under 34 years, the vote has been called the election of young people by Elections Chief Mahmood Yakubu.
Nigerians will go to the polls tomorrow, Saturday, February 25th, to elect their next president, the outgoing president, Muhammadu Buhari, who has been in office for almost 8 years, says he has fulfilled his promise to frontally and courageously tackle terrorism. Meanwhile, many Nigerians are unhappy with the state of affairs under his administration, and they are itching to elect a new leader who is result-driven and action-oriented. But who is this leader going to be? Well, we are yet to know, and I am here at Circle Tiptoe Lane in Accra, and I will be speaking to some Nigerian nationals here to know what the expectations are concerning the upcoming election.
I pray that it goes well, but what I'm suggesting is that let the government bring more military that will guide people a lot. Let them bring more soldiers, police, that will make sure that this election goes successful. And they should not do anything partiality. They should not do anything that will make this election be in fight. Let them make sure that they guide people that are going to vote, because some people are very afraid. More especially, they should make sure that the guiding is east. People who are talking about they want Biafra. So now that our brother is coming out, P2B, Atiku, and so on, they are coming. they have to allow this election to go peacefully before we now talk about Biafra. So we pray that the government should bring more military, bring more soldiers, bring more people that will make sure that this election go peacefully.
I don't support any candidate. They will fail the country. If you give it the first Atiku, give it Tinubu, give it P2B, all is the same story we hear. So they are bullshit. I don't support any three of them. Administration is nonsense. What I mean that they can't get good positive result at the end of the day. It's the same story we hear. The same story we hear in 1992 is the same story we hear today. If any of them win, it's the same story. They can't make a change in the country.
We are hoping for P2B because Nigeria as a whole, we are tired for all this, our old people. We need a young people to win the elections. Like P2B, we hope on P2B. We pray for peace, so that let it be a peaceful protest, peaceful.
All right, so welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. We're now going to be looking at what's happening in Nigeria. Nigeria is going to the polls to elect a president. Muhammadu Buhari will be completing his 8-year term this year, and so the country needs to get a new leader to stay or to steer the helm of affairs in that particular country. And so we're going to be finding out, why is this particular election so important to Nigeria? What makes it different? What makes it unique? So we have lined up quite a number of resource persons to help us understand the dynamics of this particular elections. And so we have in the studio this morning Erebad Ibrahim. He's an international relations and security analyst. He's joining us in the studio. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Senior.
Right, it's a pleasure having you. And also Kayode Abubakar. Now, Kayode Abubakar is... He's called Comrade Kayode Abubakar. He's a former president of NAN's Ghana chapter, umbrella body of Nigerian students across Ghana. He's also a member of the APC Youth Wing, graduating student of the Accra Business School. So you should know the perspectives is coming from. He's with the APC, so look at his submissions from that particular angle. This is not an analyst per se. So Kayode, thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Pages. Thank you so very much. Now let me go online and speak to. Quickly, let me do this. Comrade Martins, he's a journalist and a public commentator to let us in on what's happening this very minute in Nigeria. But before then, let me first of all introduce Martins. Martins, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. A very good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. But let me also say that Dipo Oyewole. Oyewole, I hope I got the pronunciation of your name correctly, sir.
Dipo Oyewole.
Okay, Dipo Oyewole. He's a strategy consultant and also public affairs analyst. He's based in Nigeria. So they are the guys who are going to give us insights into this conversation we're about to have. Let me start with you, Martin. Martin, good morning. First of all, thank you very much for joining us. What's happening this very minute? What can you report? Are Nigerians gearing up for this big day?
Thank you very well. I can tell you authoritatively that across the length and breadth of Nigeria, Nigerians filed out in their numbers as early as 6 a.m., some of them 6:30 across the country, because I've been monitoring the local media channels, and everywhere across the country, voters filed out as early as 6 a.m., some of them even earlier. In Maiduguri, I learned that some of them have to take their masks and water can and all of that along with them yesterday to their polling unit because they don't want to be cut out of the voting because of the movement restrictions. So as early as 6 a.m., the polling centers were filled with voters who were eagerly waiting to be a part of the process. This morning, from across Nigeria, as it's been reported in media this morning, is that most of the centers have started early, like in Jamaica, where the presidential candidate of People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, will be casting his vote. The materials arrived at about 8:28 a.m., that's very close to when the sorting should be started, commenced, because the election started 8:30 according to INEC's timetable. And there was a little bit of delay in that center. And also monitor in Daura, the Katsina state, where the current president actually casted his vote. Materials arrived very early. Across the length and breadth of Nigeria, there are reports of early arrival. However, there are some instances like in Ikeja, Lagos, and some other places like in Kaduna State, in southern Kaduna State. A colleague of mine who is reporting from there has been complaining that until this very moment, they have not seen INEC officials nor the materials for them to be accredited before the voting starts. So far, so good. It's cool and calm. Movement restriction is being noticed. And of course, some Beavers machine, that's the bimodal voter accreditation system, Beavers, that is used to accredit voters before they can cast their vote, either by your fingerprint or by official recognition of your pictures as was captured and imputed into the machines, are functioning very well. I heard that in Edo State, a colleague of mine called me that they have some 2-3 centers where the Beavers machines were not functioning well. But just a little of what I have heard across colleagues from Nigeria. The machines are cooperating, INEC staff are cooperating, especially voters. There are areas where you don't see the presence of any security person, but the voters conduct themselves. There are those who volunteer themselves to give numbers to others so that there will be orderliness in the election. So it promises to be a hitch-free election from the report so far. So Nigerians are out there and willing to cast their vote. So we keep the process of monitoring on and see how development will unfold. But in the meantime, I think it's good all the same.
Now, just finally, Martins, before you take leave of us, back home here in Ghana, the Nigerians here are telling us that really and truly they are not excited about the elections because whether they go PDP, APC, Labour, whoever, Nigeria is still going to be Nigeria. Nothing is going to change significantly. So they really can't be bothered. Is that the same mood in Nigeria? Or let me say, are there some persons in Nigeria who also feel the same?
Well, I can assure you that because Nigerians have been for a long time denied the benefits of enjoying what democratic governance can actually provide. So many Nigerians are skeptical, especially those of them who have been far away from the country. A lot of them will want to come back to Nigeria, but because of the situations, they are not able to come. The Naira has lost its value. You know, before now, if you come to Ghana with CDs, with Naira, you are going to be a very rich man. But the Naira has lost its value to every currency, and so that is understandable. But back home, I can assure you that the music is different. Nigerians are eager. Like never before, I have never seen any election where people, young people especially, women, men and children, old and young, across the length and breadth of Nigeria are willing to cast their vote, eagerly willing to cast their vote. I've never seen such. From 1999 to this very day, this is one of the most participating elections I have seen. And everybody is willing to cast a vote, and they are very hopeful. If you follow the media platform, if you follow the social media platform which I belong, you see people are singing a new song. I see them bringing back songs from South Africa after the apartheid regime and all of that. It's telling Nigerians that this is what is going to happen in a few hours from now. There should be a party to what is happening so that history will actually recount with them. And so it's a different ball game. But for those of them who are out there in diaspora, especially those around African countries, they may not be in touch with what is happening at home. And they might not be so much concerned about what is happening. But I can assure you, let them keep hope alive. Way back home will definitely do the difference. And of course, there will be, they will have a reason to have a Nigeria to be proud about wherever they are. Okay. I see a new Nigeria giving birth to after this election. We're very positive, and we want to do everything we can within the ambits of our rights as voters to make sure that that is achieved.
Okay. All right, Comrade Martins, I want to thank you very much. He's a journalist and a public affairs, social commentator as well. That's Comrade Martins, reporting all the way from Nigeria. Let's come back in house, and also let me just say that my other colleague who's on Zoom, will come back to you shortly. We want to talk to our resource persons in house, and then we'll come back to you on Zoom as well. Let me start with the man who is the representative of the APC here in Ghana. That's Comrade Kayode. Abubakar Kayode, once again, it's good to have you here.
My pleasure.
Your party and your government is not looking good at all. We're told that, in fact, this is going to be a verdict on the Buhari government.
Yeah.
And from all indications, from everything that we've heard, it doesn't look like Nigerians have been happy with the state of affairs in Nigeria. They're happy with the performance of Buhari and the APC. Are you confident that you will be able to scale through?
First, let me acknowledge the fact that economics plays a very, very critical role.
Please switch your mic on. Please. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Go ahead.
The blue is on.
I hear it's on. His mic is on, isn't it? Okay, please go ahead.
Right. So I must acknowledge that fact that economics plays a very, very critical role in, gearing up people to make decisions about the elections. And to be frank, it's going to be a serious decision for people to take based on the performance of the outgoing president. In fact, one of the internal crises that the party was having was the technical style by which the candidate of the party was trying not to campaign based on the performance of the current president. And a lot of people, believe that. I mean, as a member of the same party, you should be able to campaign based on to protect the performance of the president and all that. So, but to be frank, the performance of Muhammadu Buhari has not really been what he promised. Satisfactory, as a matter of fact, because he campaigned on his campaign in 2015 was hinged on 3 promises. I mean, security, we were facing terrorism and Boko Haram insurgency at that period, and then he promised to fight corruption and also, of course, economic rejuvenation and all that. However, as we speak today, even though he was able to deal with the issue of Boko Haram, we have a new dimension of national security threat that is in banditry. Even though we were able to technically defeat Boko Haram, we have territory back to ourselves, but that new wave of terrorism, banditry, is a serious threat to national security, and the people are not happy at all. Right. People cannot even travel from one state to the other. So as a result of that, I believe that it's going to negatively affect our performance in this election. It's going to affect our performance in this election, as a matter of fact. However, I'm highly optimistic that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, who's got the capacity and has got the track record, as a matter of fact, will be able to put this election through. It might be very close, but I believe that he has led his campaign on his own personal capability and his track record as a former governor of Lagos State, not really on the performance of Muhammadu Buhari, even though they belong to the same party.
Let me go to Airbag. You're Ghanaian, you're not Nigerian, you don't live there, but what I do know that you read quite extensively about what happens in not just Nigeria, but across the world. From where you sit, Airbag, what do you think has made this particular elections so interesting?
Okay, well, Moro, work has taken me to Abuja.
Okay.
And so I have a feel of what is happening on the ground in terms of the dynamics and complexity of a country like Nigeria. But, flowing from your preamble, Ghana indeed is a stakeholder in Nigeria's election. Moro, some 93.5 or so million people have registered to vote in this election. And Ghana and Nigeria are like twin sisters. And when a pin falls in Abuja, the ripple effects are felt in Accra.
Absolutely.
So Ghana has every right to have a stake in this election and hope that proceedings today will end peacefully. And by the middle of next week, we would have known who the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is. Because if there is political violence on the back of this election, and even 1/10 of this number crosses over into Ghana, how would we be able to cope with the refugee crisis? So therefore, this is only a Nigerian election. Number one is a Pan-African election. Nigeria is the single most populous country of black people in the whole wide world. Number two, it is an Anglophone neighbor, and we have so many things in common. And when Nigerians lift their bags and they leave because of crisis, they will come to the Republic of Ghana. So I'm happy Ghana's former president and other Ghanaian leaders are playing a role through observer missions and others to make sure that some of the good things we've seen as a country in Ghana will be replicated in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So those are my opening remarks. My conclusion, Moro, at the end of this discussion will be that, yes,
so
of course...
before you even go ahead, before you proceed, what you're saying is that Nigeria means a lot to us socioculturally, they mean a lot to us politically, and they mean a lot to us economically.
In fact, Accra's, printing hub, Newtown, used to be called Lagos Town.
Absolutely.
When you look at the history of the development of the capital city of Accra, Cow Lane, business people coming from Nigeria, we saw the boom at the time of Agege, when many of our grandfathers and fathers and uncles traveled to Nigeria to make a fortune. Okay. There are intermarriages between Ghanaians and Nigerians. So literally, Nigerians are a part of the Ghanaian community. Right. And therefore it is important. I'm happy Comrade Kayode was a student leader, he's a youth activist, he's a community organizer, and all that we need to do to make sure. And I see we've been involved with the Nigerian High Commission for a long time. Right. Sometimes some of the political bickering spills over into Ghana because of a very strong Nigerian community we have here. So we wish them the very best, and we hope that they will pull this off successfully, just as they did in the last election in 2019. Eventually, Moro, even though Tinubu has the advantage of incumbency, my projection is this: 2 conditional statements. If Peter Obi's hype as a third force, as a new dawn in Nigeria's election, the social media hype, if that translates into votes, that's the first condition.
Right.
And the second condition is that if Rabiu Kwankwaso splits northern votes with Atiku Abubakar, then a runoff is possible.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting. Because they're both from the north.
They are northerners. And everybody knows, I'm happy Comrade is here. Mm-hmm. Of course, fleeting issues that come and go. Boko Haram came and went as an insecurity issue. Of course, there is banditry, there are issues with the economy. But there are some cardinal, deep-rooted factors that affect elections in Nigeria. Right. And it doesn't matter whether Nigeria is flowing with milk or an honey, or there's starvation in Nigeria. And those factors, in due course, I believe I'll have an opportunity to explain them. Right. The issue of geography and ethnicity. Okay. There is also the issue of religion, and the issue of north-south tickets or south-north tickets.
That's within the PDP?
Within all political
across
parties.
Board.
Across board. And there's a historical antecedent of northern dominance of the presidency or being the head of state in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But to begin with, Moro, look at the dynamics of the votes by states. Just like the United States of America, Nigeria is a federal country. Right. So it means that the capital, Abuja, is not a state, just as Washington, D.C. is a district and not a state. So out of the 36, if there's an interesting, dynamic, a pattern that shows northern states and middle belt states.
Okay, so what I want us to do, Erbad, and I'd like to crave your indulgence to do this. You would be mic'd, you'll be remic'd, so that you can go to the screen and walk us through some of these fantastic, data that you have been mining. So whilst at it, let me go to Nigeria, because this one you need time to walk us through on the screen. So let's do this. So let me go to Nigeria. Okay, I'll come to you, APC, sorry. The APC man, that's Kayode. Deepo, hello, Deepo. Hello, Deepo, are you there? Hello, good. Deepo, can you hear me? Hello, Deepo.
I don't think so.
I think we have a challenge. I don't think Deepo can hear me. Deepo, if you can hear me. Okay, because I was going to go to him to ask about, from where he sits, what does he think, what are the dynamics at play in this Nigeria elections? Okay, Deepo, can you hear me now? Hello? Hello? I think there's a challenge. We'll try and get back to Deepo, because everybody made a very important, point. And the point he made was the fact that if you look at the fact that Atiku Abubakar comes from the northern part of Nigeria, and then you also have Rabiu Kwankwaso also from the northern part of Nigeria. Rabiu Kwankwaso is able to take a bit of the votes from Atiku Abubakar, then there's likely to be a runoff. But does that also to suggest that without that happening, it looks more likely as a PDP victory in this election? So that's what I was going to ask him. But when, how do you call it? When Ibrahim takes over the screens, he would walk us through exactly what he's been trying to illustrate to us. So I hope, so Ibrahim, you're okay. You're in a good position now. So the camera is going to take a shot of you, and then you can walk us through when we're ready. So Mr. Cameraman, when you're ready, let us know so that we can go to Ibrahim straight away. Are you ready for us? Okay. Okay, so please go to Airbad straight away so that Airbad will walk us through what he wants us to learn from the Nigeria election. Fantastic. So
Tomorrow, when I was working as peace ambassador for Ghana's elections, Comrade and his group was a group I worked with.
Okay.
And I appreciate the contributions he has made, even to Ghana's elections.
Right.
He's a great guy. So this is a portrait of Nigeria's map. And Hausa Fulani extraction is a very strong one in terms of their history. We know the history of Tafawa Balewa as the first prime minister in a post-independent Nigeria and all that. And northern politicians seem to think they have a sense of possession or ownership of governance in Nigeria.
Okay.
And Chief Abiola won in the early 90s, and then IBB just overturned the election. So geography is important. And the leading candidates, as we all know, are 4 in number. They are 4 in number, so to speak, even though we know PDP or APC will eventually emerge as the winner of this election. So when you look at the northern and middle belt states, Sokoto, Katsina, Jigawa, Yobe, Kano, Zamfara, Kebbi, Bauchi, all of these are Hausa Fulani-dominated areas. The only place where you have Yoruba influence, and I'm happy my brother APC is here, Tinubu #1 comes in as a Muslim, so he satisfies partially the interest of the northern voters. And then he's a Yoruba man. After Olusegun Obasanjo, how nice will it be to have a Yoruba person? So when you look at Lagos State has the highest number of registered voters in this election, almost 7 million. So if he wins massively in Lagos State, gets enough votes in the north, and then taps into votes from other parts of the country, then it's likely he could win the election.
I see.
But Igbos have an interesting history, and Comrade will talk to you about the secession struggle in 1967, when the Igbos wanted to break away to establish the Republic of Biafra. So up to now, there's that feeling that we need to break away. There's IPOB, indigenous peoples of Biafra, who are still struggling. This is where, you know, south, east, Enugu, Anambra, and Peter Obi comes from Anambra. He was former governor of Anambra. So most of the votes that will go to the Labour Party will come from this region. He has been smart enough to choose somebody from Kaduna State, Yusuf Ahmed Baba, as his running mate. So if he's able to get all of the votes here, gets enough of the northern votes, and makes some incursions into Yoruba land, it's likely Peter Obi will pull a surprise. And so therefore, these are the dynamics, and I believe that going forward, for the first time, we may witness a civilian election go for a runoff in Nigeria. Number 2, Moraudo. Yoruba land doesn't have so many states. We have Lagos, Oyo states, Kwara, Ogun, Endo, Ekiti, Kogi, and Osun. So this is where most of the votes that will go to Tinubu will come from. But when you look at the portrait of the contenders, Rabi Okonkwoso, a smart guy, former governor of Kano State, he's been a Kano State governor for some time. Kano has over almost 6 million registered voters. He can pull a surprise there. But apart from that, he doesn't have the kind of appeal Atiku Abubakar has. And Peter Obi, as I said, the youth are in for him. We see a lot of social media hype about him. But Moraudu, just like in Ghana's election, sympathy votes are most likely to go for Atiku Abubakar.
Yeah, because it's his 4th time, isn't it?
He has contested 6 times.
6 times.
to be president of the Republic of Nigeria.
I thought it was 4. Okay.
So he is a man who is the most experienced in chasing the top job in Nigeria. And therefore, I believe Nigerians will feel this guy has tried well enough. Let's give him a chance this time around. So he's the most experienced in running for the top job. He ran as presidential candidate in 2 major elections in which he lost. And then he ran to be flag bearer in 4 others. So this is the 6th time he's trying as a presidential candidate to win the election. And he didn't start today. 92, 93, he ran against Abiola to lead the party into the election, and he lost to Chief Abiola. In 2010, he lost to Goodluck Jonathan to become the flag bearer of the PDP. And ironically, when APC was formed in 2015, he moved over to APC and contested against the current president, Muhammadu Buhari, and lost in the primaries. And so therefore, he's a man who has been at it. And some people feel like, well, this guy is tried and tested, and he's the most highly placed person politically in terms of credentials. Of course, Tinubu, Comrade's man, has been governor of Lagos. He has great credentials, but then none of them has been vice president before. So this guy is just a whisker away from the main job. And I believe these dynamics go in favor of Atiku Abubakar.
What are the dynamics that are going against Atiku Abubakar?
Number one, issues of corruption.
Yeah.
We hear reports
He's not seen as a clean guy. He has integrity issues.
Well,
May not necessarily be grounded on facts, but I'm saying that it's perception.
Politics is about perception.
Absolutely.
But there is an idea within the electorate that there was a lot of malfeasance. There's a joke that is being cracked that Obasanjo even said his vice president has stolen more than he did. But these may be perceptive, they may be real. As Ghanaians from where we sit, we may not be able to. But I believe what he brings to the table is experience. Number two, he is a world-acclaimed investor. He can woo investors into Nigeria.
Okay.
So therefore, at this time of credit crunch, this economic challenge, the middle class and the upper class may be thinking about somebody who can wield the magic wand to make Nigeria attractive for investors. Buhari radically tried shutting off the border with Benin so that Vietnamese and Filipino rice wouldn't come, so that local rice will be patronized in Nigeria. Those were really good efforts, but sadly, the poor person in Nigeria still remains poor and lives under $1 or $2 a day. And so therefore, they would be looking for somebody who has the gravitas to attract international investment into Nigeria.
Well. So that's what you have for us today.
Yes.
Okay, so Brad will take his seat, and whilst at it, I'll go on. Let me. Okay. This is another one.
A little bit of history.
Good.
People of Hausa Fulani extraction have dominated Nigeria since independence.
Okay.
First Prime Minister Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Nnamdi Azikiwe, as we all know, was a ceremonial president, comrade. And then after that, so far, this has been the only Igbo person to have come close to ruling Nigeria, General Ironsi. So he toppled Tafawa Balewa and got him killed. He was assassinated. And this was what precipitated, actually, the war against the Igbos. So at some point, there was a marriage of convenience between Hausa Fulani North and then Southwest Yoruba land to fight against the Igbos. That is why, Moraudu, you realize that right from the 90s, the only thing we have seen of the Igbos has been their efforts in the film industry. And Genevieve Nnaji, and Emeka, Jim Ike, all of these people are Igbo people. They've not been allowed to actually go close to the topmost job in Nigeria. But I believe that they've gone past that tribal sentiment. And Peter Obi is seen to be as a revolutionary Igbo who could be the first duly elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The longest serving military leader, Yakubu Gowon, a Northerner but a Christian. So therefore, Moral, do you see, because of the Muslim-Christian dynamics, and up to now, is being contested by CAN and other major Christian organizations, that is a split between the North and the South, that there are 50% Muslims and there are 50% Christians. But the Muslims are saying they are the dominant force. So Peter Obi has been smart to get a Northern Muslim as a running mate. Where I think Comrades APC may be a bit presumptuous is that they have quashed the idea of regional balance by going for a southern running mate who is a Muslim and then going for Southern candidate who is a Muslim and going for his running mate and Kashim Shettima to be his running mate. So there's no Christian feeling within the APC ticket. And therefore, if care is not taken, that may come home to bite them as a political party.
Wow.
All others have been smart enough to make sure there is what? Religious balance in the candidature, so to speak.
Okay.
And then the youth bulge. Farming and fishing is a major profession amongst the registered voters. While registering, some indicated about 14, almost 15 million indicated their profession to be farming and fishing. These are peasants, everyday people. You can talk to them about basic bread and butter issues and win them over. And look at the youth bulge. Those who indicated they are students are the largest demographic, 26 million.
26 million.
And these are those making the noise for Peter Obi on social media.
Yes.
That was why I started by saying that if he lives up to the social media hype in today's election and grabs a few of the votes here and there and dominates in Yubo land, then it is likely Peter Obi may push this election to a runoff.
Wow. Now, what's this housewife? 13 million people are housewives.
And many of them, comrade, will tell you, are House of Fulanis, people of northern extraction.
Okay.
So it's the allergies who will determine where the votes, and they give birth a lot because someone can have 2, 3 wives at the same time. So Rabi Ukwankwaso and Atiku Abubakar may most likely get most of the votes from the housewives.
The housewives. And then you have the trading community.
Yes, the trading community, of course, some of them even cross over to Ghana and other places. They would want an investor like Atiku.
And then you have public servants, and then, and then others.
Yes,
and others. What's the
so
demographics?
What is most important is that the youth will determine where the pendulum swings in today's election in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Wow. All right, Erba, this is really insightful. Thank you very much. So you can take your seat back. Let's now listen to this Kenyan lawyer, Professor Lunumba. He's been talking about the Nigeria elections, and then when we're done with him, we will go and speak to Dipo. Dipo has been on Zoom for a while now. He's got his own perspectives to share on this matter. So let's watch Professor Lunumba. We'll be back.
I believe that Nigerians will have the opportunity of making a clear statement that they want a united Nigeria. They want a Nigeria that will play its leading role in the continent of Africa. They want a Nigeria that is united in our diversity. They want a Nigeria where people are judged by the content of their character, not by their ethnicity or religious affiliation. And I hope that that decision will be made on Saturday, the 25th day of the month of February this year. I pray for them, and I hope that they'll do the right thing. Because if they don't, then Africa will be the poorer. How does a wound on your toe affect your body? Nigeria is a part of Africa. She's the most populous nation in the continent of Africa, the largest economy in the continent of Africa. If the elections do not lead to peace and stability, then Africa is the poor. And I don't think that that is a debatable issue. If Nigeria is unstable today, this West Africa will be unstable. And therefore, it is important that they have an election that is credible, that they retain their stability for the benefit of the people of Nigeria and the benefit of the people of Africa, and the world by extension.
All right, let me come back to Comrade Martins. He's still on Zoom all the way from Nigeria. He's got something new for us. Remember, he's our man on the beat as far as the Nigerian elections are concerned. So, Comrade Martin, what's new?
Thank you once again. I just watched
everybody, Ibrahim.
The guests in the studio. They are giving a lot of analysis.
Right.
A lot of them could be taken for true, but so many indices actually are playing out on the field here. A lot of things may not be as it's written in papers. I remember the election that brought in Donald Trump into power, there were so many of such researches and polls and all of that. But all of that didn't play out in the actual election. Yeah, a very, very thoughtful, very wonderful presentation by him. There are some indices that are actually playing out here in Nigeria, just like he talked about voting pattern, which will actually be, some of people will be, because of the pains that they've gone through in the past, even if you were supporting a ruling party, for instance, because of the pains and the scarcity of the naira in the last 3 weeks or thereabout, going to a month now, this is actually going to count against those people who will vote in that line, because I've heard so many talking about that. These are some of the indices you can actually look at. And of course, the fuel scarcity that has been biting so hard in Nigeria, it's actually another cause that people will force people to vote against even their own party that they may belong to. I'm very happy with Comrade in the studio. He may be a youth leader for APC, but he was very, very objective about his analysis. These are some of the things that actually are playing out here. If you...
Okay. All right, so that's it. Martin, I want to thank you very much for your time. Now, let me come back to Kayode Abubakar, and at some point, we'll also be speaking to Depo. Now, Martin, I think not many people, especially in Ghana, so, okay, let me put it this way. Yeah. How would you explain, for instance, to either Nigerians who live in Ghana or Ghanaians here, who this, I'm talking about Tinubu, what do Ghanaians need to know about this man?
Yes, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is the former governor of Lagos State.
Okay.
He was one of the top leaders of the pro-democracy struggle after the annulment, before and during and after the annulment of 1993 election that brought in the botched Open 93 election of MK Abiola. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is actually belonged to the same political family with Atiku Abubakar. They were mentees of Shehu Musa Yar'Adua of the SDP in 1990s. And, when Yar'Adua was banned by the military and, they went for the convention, of course, Atiku participated, as he said, and he lost. He was supposed to be a running mate to Abiola, but Babagana Kingibe from Borno was chosen, ahead of Atiku Abubakar. So Bola Tinubu was probably one of the top Nadeko leaders that fought the military for the, enthronement of democracy. From the 1995, they had to move to exile as a result of being pushed around by the military. He escaped being killed from the whisker. So Asiwaju Bola Tinubu came back to Nigeria after Abacha's death and participated at the primaries of the Alliance for Democracy, became governor in 1999, and was re-elected. In fact, he became the only. First, let me give you the background of the region where he comes from. He's from the southwestern Nigeria, the Yoruba-speaking part of the country, and the Yorubas have their own political leaders. They always create their own path, even from after independence, that they don't normally belong to the federal government. They don't align with the federal party. And this time around, in 1999, he belonged to the Alliance for Democracy, a pan-Yoruba political party. They won across to the region. They didn't support their own son, Olusegun Obasanjo, for the election. And in 2003, because of the battle in PDP, Olusegun Obasanjo tried to lobby the region, through the ethnic group, and lobby them to support him, his ambition. However, only Tinubu survived that election. All the Alliance for Democracy governors lost their election. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu became the leader. By this situation that happened in 2003, led the whole region again, reorganized them, changed the name of the party to Action Congress, and mobilized, and they won the whole region back from the PDP. And that was how he got control of the region. And from that point, after leaving office as governor in 2007, he has become a political phenomenon in that side, and has even become an avenue to protect Atiku Abubakar at some point in time, from the backlash of their issue with President Obasanjo of the PDP that booted out Atiku Abubakar from PDP. So Bola Tinubu was also known as a man with an antecedent of good governance in Lagos. Lagos State has become probably the most institutionalized state in Nigeria today. It is the only state that has the capacity to be independent of the federal government. Lagos State is is probably number 5 economy in Africa, and number 1 in Nigeria, as a matter of fact. It met the budget of Lagos State to be about 600 million, internal generated revenue, and today, almost 60 billion naira. So it's got the capacity in terms of governance, it's got the experience. Lagos is probably a mini country in Nigeria. If there's a joke, that if you can manage Lagos, automatically you can manage Nigeria. Right. It's like you are a mini president of the country. So this is who Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has been, politically and in terms of governance.
Let me go to Depo quickly. I want to do this with Depo so that Depo can take leave of us, because Depo's got other things he needs to attend to. Okay. Now, Depo, welcome back. Deepak, do I have you? Can you hear me? Oh, unfortunately, we don't have the Deepak on the line. So, Martins, you were talking to us when we lost you. If you can quickly conclude before we go to Deepak.
Okay, I was saying that what is happening here, those models indices, models evidence research by my colleague in the studio may not be substantive evidence to determine the votes of the choice of voters this very election today, because many of them have been aggrieved, and of course you hear them chanting outside the street and saying that they are looking for a genuine change, want to make sure they phase out the old politicians who have cost them so much pain and all of that. So, rightly speaking, election is going on. Voting have started in so many centers across the country. Only a few reports coming in that they are having issues with INEC officials arriving late. And some centers, like in Kaduna, Southern Kaduna, I heard that they have not actually seen materials arrive in this moment. But majorly, most of the centers have started voting. And as you may know, it's not like it used to be in the past where you come to accredit and go back and come back and vote. This is happening simultaneously. As you are being accredited, you are voting. If you wish to stay, you can stay. If you wish to go, you can go. And the biomodal givers machine have actually changed the narrative as well. In the past, most of these things were not in place. And so the collation were manually done. And that, of course, gave room to a lot of manipulation of the result. But as it is, given what we know about the beavers machines, once you cast your vote, you need not wait until they send in their reports to the central server in Abuja before you can get to know the number of voters that have voted at a particular polling unit, because it's automatically recorded at the center. And of course, there are people, observers from different agencies, civil societies that are watching and, of course, seeing what's happening live. So that, of course, can actually change the result of the election. And so the machines are functioning well, and a lot of persons have casted their vote. We are recording a peaceful process. So far, so good, with just little skirmishes of issues of non-arrival of materials and NEC officials, and of course, malfunctioning of the beavers machines. So far, so good. We are helping and looking up to a very peaceful election, often being equal from what we can see from our standpoint here.
All right. Well, Corbin Martins, what I can promise you is that at 12 o'clock on our major news bulletin, we'll come back to you for some more update. Thank you so very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
I believe I have Deepak Oyewole now to talk to us.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, great. Finally.
All right, great.
Deepak, what is it that has made this election so unpredictable and so fiercely contested? It's very difficult to, not even for prophets, to be able to tell who will win. Why?
Okay, well, because different candidates with different issues, different factors we need to put into consideration. For example, the gentleman in the studio had a very interesting analysis there. Some accurate, some were not so accurate. But one of the things that he was able to hit the nail on the head with is the dynamics of how we conduct elections in Nigeria. Interestingly, most of the decisions we make at the polls are still judged along ethnic and religious lines.
Yeah.
So these are critical factors that candidates need to consider. These are critical factors that political parties need to consider. And like he pointed out, the candidate of the APC, who is a Southern Muslim, has a running mate who is another Muslim as well. And the Christians in the country are saying what is going on. They feel disenfranchised. However, the PDP candidate, who is from the north, who is a Muslim, has a Southern Christian. And people in the south are saying the current president is from the north. It is the turn of the south. There was an agreement, albeit informal agreement, but there is some form of understanding in the political system and in how we run our democracy that it will be rotated between the north and the south. The current president is from the north, and we believe it should be from the south. Now, the candidate of the Labour Party, who is a Southern Christian, has his running mate from the north, who is a Muslim. So a lot of people are saying, okay, is that an option we would like to go for? And we have Rabi Kwankwaso, who is also from the north as well. So yes, so these are dynamics that we need to consider when we're looking at elections in Nigeria. However, different parties with different issues. For example, like your guest in the studio said, Rabiu Kwankwaso will definitely be splitting the northern votes, or the northern bloc per se, that Atiku would have been looking at to have a landslide in, which is one of the issues that he would be having. And he's also been having internal party issues within the PDP as well. The APC also not looking very good because of the new Naira design, fuel scarcity, and a myriad of challenges that are happening right now under the ruling party, which is the APC. So they are having that issue. And the Labour Party candidate, who has now become mostly the candidate of the youth, is gaining a lot of ground and has been doing that for a couple of weeks. And people are saying, okay, is he the third force that we're looking for? Is it the third force we're looking at? Because a lot of people here in Nigeria are saying that they're tired of the establishment. They're tired of the two major parties, the APC and the PDP, and the other parties are trying to see how they can gain ground. So that is why it's been quite difficult for anyone to say that this is where it will tilt to, and this is where this is the person that will definitely clench the presidency eventually. Even the prophets themselves, they are having a lot of challenge having to prophesy to say that, okay, you know what, this is the person that is likely going to win it. But it is an interesting one because so far we're seeing a lot of peace in a lot of places. What we're just having are a few locations where the INEC officials are having some logistical issues, where the materials are arriving later than expected. Aside from that, accreditation has been going on. People have been voting. The PDP candidate, Atiku Abubakar, has casted his votes at his polling unit in Adamawa. The president himself has casted his votes at his polling unit at Daura in his hometown. So yes, people are getting accredited and people are casting their votes, and it's been peaceful so far.
All right. Depo, just briefly on this one. I'm struggling to understand, because you play in the space of strategy. I'm struggling to understand why a candidate who comes from the northern part of Nigeria, and I'm talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu, would go for a running mate who's also Muslim, former Borno governor, as Borno State governor, and I'm talking about Shetima Kashim. What thinking do you think may have gone into this decision?
Honestly speaking, it's something that has had a lot of us puzzled because, I mean, like I just explained, there has always been a clear dichotomy with how people and parties have their candidature. It's really simple. If you're from the south, you get running mate from the north. That is one. If you're a Muslim, your running mate has to be a Christian. That's the other thing, because these are two critical factors. And because in the end, we are a country where there's been a lot of complaints with injustices, with where there's been perceived injustices, where a lot of people believe that they're being sidelined, where a lot of people believe that they're being segregated, where they believe that they have been disenfranchised, where they believe that they're not getting adequate representation. So for us, it has always been a question as to what the thinking really is. Why you as a Southern Muslim will then go for a Northern Muslim as well, because you've been able to fulfill the part of splitting the region, saying that, okay, you're from the South, you're getting a running mate from the North, but how about getting someone from the other religion, which is Christianity? So, I mean, for me, strategically, I really do not understand what that is about. I believe that internally they may have their justifications, which for us, it isn't quite clear even though they're trying to shrug it off by saying that, okay, you know what, the Nigerians, it doesn't matter. But the truth is, we're not there yet, right? We're not at the place yet as a people where we can say that we are no longer voting along ethnic and religious lines. Personally, would I like us to be there? We are not there because
Okay. We haven't. Okay, so DePaul, sorry about that. We've had some technical challenges, but we get a drift. We get the import of the submission you just made. I want to thank you so very much for your time. That's DePaul Oyewole. He's Oyewole. He's the strategy consultant and also public affairs analyst. They're talking to us all the way from Nigeria, trying to help us understand the dynamics of some of the decisions that have been made by some of the candidates. Let me come back in house. Ibrahim is still here with us. He's an international relations and security analyst, and also. I do have Kayode Abubakar. He is with the APC youth wing here in Ghana. So yes, he speaks for the APC. So look at what a lot of things he says from that angle. Now, let me come back to, I guess, Kayode. Kayode, you wanted something you wanted to say?
Yeah, several. I want to make some clarifications and then talk about the Muslim ticket.
Right. But whilst I tell you that, I'd want Iba to help us understand this. Now, this is the first time the Nigerian voters register is bloated by 10 million people. We do not know the constitution of that or the demographic constitution of that, whether they are mostly youth, whatever it is. But 10 million additional people on the voters register. That's one. Two, this is also the first time we're told that Nigeria's election is going to be very, very transparent, the infusion of technology. We want to know how this is likely to affect possibly the outcome of these elections when he's done. So those are the two issues I'd want you to help us understand. Yeah, please go ahead.
All right, first.
Yeah, so you want to talk about
let me make first clarification about what could lead to
and not yes.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, there are two constitutionality. Number one, if you win the popular vote, you must win at least 25% in 2/3 of the country. Now, we have 36 states of the Federation.
Okay.
Now, 2/3 of 36 is 24. That means if you win popular vote and you don't win 25%, you will not be declared winner. So that's why this election might go to Iran because of the tight race. It has always been two-horse race. But this time around, because of a lot of factors that have to do with all the things that affect our election, that is the religion, geopolitical divide, north-south dichotomy, and as well as ethnicity, as we be analyzing. So these are all the factors that, and because of the individuals contesting this time around, it's very, very difficult to really project. Of course, everybody, they have their rights and wrongs and all sort of things like that. Now, coming to the issue of the Muslim ticket, let me also clarify that Tinubu is from the southwest of Nigeria, while Kasim Shettima is from the northeastern part of the country. Now, what was the thinking behind the Muslim ticket of the APC? Number one, this is not the first time this is happening. The election Abiola won in 1993, the Bosch 1993 election was actually a Muslim ticket. Abiola was a Yoruba Muslim, deputized by Babagana Kingibe from the same Borno. In fact, the same place Tinubu picked his vice was the same place Abiola picked his vice in 1993. Now, what could be the thinking behind this? There are underlying realities about even the religious perspective of this country. The Yorubas, even though I'm more Muslim, I'm from a predominantly Muslim family, but I'm a Christian. In fact, my dad was a chairman of Islamic Brigade Welfare during the military. Okay. But my mom is a Christian. Okay. Now, the Yorubas in the whole of the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria had the people that religion does not really play a role there. They are Yorubas first. The cultural identity is stronger than the religious affinity of the Yoruba people. Okay. Now, and there's another, quite interesting part in the northern Nigeria. Now, their religion is number one. And there is this also unwritten code that they don't really believe that the southern Muslim is Muslim enough, acceptable to the northern part. Right. It's a reality. Quite debatable, but it's a reality there. Now, when my dad was chairman of Islamic Brigade Welfare, there are some mosques who could not even lead prayers in the northern Nigeria. They can be that extreme. Okay. So if you're a southern Muslim, they believe you're very liberal. And as to say, the core Muslim north might not really accept you to be a Muslim candidate. So Tinubu being a Yoruba person, it is easy to appeal to Yoruba voters because the religion is not really a consideration. There are many times that despite being a Muslim majority in the southwest, they have all Christian governors. Not a problem. They have Christian ticket. Not a problem. But it's not like that in the north. So this...
then strictly speaking, it's not really... It's not a north ticket per se. Because
not
like you said, he's from
It's
Southwest.
Muslim. You know, that's the north,
he's Muslim.
North-south is geographical.
Yeah, I get it.
Muslim,
so
Christians, religious-wise.
You're saying the ethnicity is stronger than the religion?
In the southwest.
Oh, that's in
the
southwest.
speaking part, yeah.
But in the north?
In the north, religion is stronger.
Religion is stronger?
Yes, religion is stronger.
So you're saying that the thinking which may have gone into...
Tinubu's choice.
Is that...
And he picked the non-Christian candidate.
Okay.
The core Muslim north does
him.
not really accept Tinubu to be a core Muslim because he's from the south. I just told you that my dad, my biological father, was a chairman of Islamic Pilgrim Welfare.
Okay.
And like a religious leader from the south, a Yoruba speaking part.
Okay.
There are some places in northern Nigeria I could not lead prayers.
I see.
As a matter of fact, it's known. It's something that is known on ground.
So
therefore,
the ticket satisfies both.
It satisfies the core north,
ethno-religious.
From the APC perspective.
From the APC perspective.
Yeah, the north. If you look at the voters' registration, the northwest and the southwest are the largest voting bloc in Nigeria.
True.
Tinubu is from the southwest.
Okay.
The southwest is Yoruba. They don't vote based on religion line. The north vote most of the time. Religion plays a very, very strong role in this. Okay. So he believes that he can appeal to his people. Acceptability in Yoruba land has nothing to do with religion. So Tinubu will be accepted from his own base, where his major votes are coming from. Okay. But from the north, Kashim Shettima, we appeal to them. Now, with due respect to the sensitivity of non-Muslims, number one, our constitution even guarantees 3 religions. So it won't even be fair to say that, okay, Christian traditionalists as well. We have a lot of high percentage of traditionalists in Nigeria. So the constitution guarantees that. Now, secondly, the northern Christians are in the minority. And they are mostly in the north central part of the country, especially in Kogi, in Kogi, Kwara. Kwara is even predominantly Muslim. So Plateau State, where our DG campaign comes from. Now, so the argument is that the government is not just about the president and the vice alone. This thing has worked before. The best election we've had in Nigeria was in 1993. It was Muslim ticket. Abiola won, even in Kano, defeated Bashir Tofa of the NRC, even in Kano. So now, this is the argument from the APC perspective. And the thinking behind this is because the 2 voting blocks, Buhari is coming from the northwest. They are banking on him because of his acceptability. He's caught followership in the northwest. The northeast is where Kashim Shettima is coming from. He performed very, very well as a governor. So they are banking on that. So it's based on, permutations about delivering votes.
See.
And the thinking, the perspective, the socio-political realities of the people of now. Tinubu is not going to get enough vote from the southeast where Obi comes from, and they are Christians. Tinubu will not get enough vote in south. He's going there only for his 25% share. Buhari didn't win 10% in southeast in the last elections that he won. He became president without having 10% in southeast. So when you look at this perspective, the realities from the APC perspective, it will be an own goal for Tinubu to go and choose a candidate that will pacify a region that would not support APC as a running mate. So these are the realities, these are the thinking behind it. And as a Lagosian and as a Yoruba person that he is always, it is only region that doesn't give block vote in Nigeria from before independence to after independence, because it's a region that they can vote for president, blue party, green parties to governor. In my state, for instance, you can lead a movement if say Peter Obi is contesting government, they would have won the election because they don't really give block vote because of sentiment of political affiliation or religion or ethnicity. They vote based on the message. That's why the campaign strategy in the Southwest is always different. The parties are always very aggressive because some of the factors, realities of factors that has to do with the the religious affinity, and also ethnicity does not play a role in Southwest. Right. Obasanjo is from the Southwest. He lost woefully in our region. Till now, Obasanjo is not really accepted politically in the Southwest, despite being probably one of the most nationalistic presidents we've had so far. So these are the underlying thinking behind the choice
before everybody you attend to the questions I asked earlier. Yeah. I mean, we're told that Obi, for instance, is enjoying substantial lead in opinion
from
polls.
The youth.
Now, he's run a very effective campaign, but analysts are not sure whether he can turn the virtual support into physical support. Now, if that's the case, how do you think the opinion polls ended up giving him a lead?
Moro, the most important opinion poll is what happens on polling day.
That's the truth.
Yes, because people do surveys. Even in the US, there is Pew survey and others. As one of our virtual guests indicated, colleagues said, nobody gave Trump a dog's chance against Hillary. So therefore, I believe that it's important to tread cautiously. Moral though, Nigeria is a very big country. For each of the agencies that carried out a survey, the question is, what was your sample space?
That's right.
So you can't just sample 1 million people or 2 billion people and speak for 90 million people who are voted as, potential voters. They are registered. So therefore, I would want to, jettison that into the dustbin of figment of people's imagination. Let's look at what happens today, and let's pay attention to it.
What is going to be different about these elections?
Kayode mentioned a very good point tomorrow. Ethnic balkanization of Africa's politics, not only in Nigeria, even in Ghana.
Oh, of course it is.
We are bogged down in that. In Ghana, before the election in 2016, they said, no, why should 2 copies of the Bible be at the Jubilee House or Flagstaff House? It should be a Bible and the Quran. And somebody may be whispering to voters in Nigeria right now that why should Aso Rock have 2 copies of the Quran and there is no copy of the Bible? These are very sentimental issues.
Because we're religiously diverse.
Yes, and it said religion is the opium of the masses. So we can't wash away the toll this decision by APC will take on them on this election day. So I agree with the,
But you don't agree. You don't agree that. You don't agree that when it comes to the Southwest, they do purely ethnic. But when it has to do with the
not really purely ethnic.
Moral.
They don't really vote
based on religion.
The national sentiment that influences our election does not really take root in the Southwest. History has proven that.
Kayode is my very good friend. But Moro, when you even do a cursory reading of the history of Nigeria, you realize that the Muslim Caliphate in Ilorin, Yoruba land, is one of the strongest in the whole of Nigeria. Nigerians are very religious people. You can't take that away from them. We worked with Musliuddin Obanikoro, former High Commissioner. You can count a chain of High Commissioners that have been sent here, and they are very staunch Muslims. So therefore, I think Comrade has a point, but you can't just derobe a whole ethnic group from their religious sentiment. You'll be shooting yourself in the foot politically to think so. So therefore, I don't know the thinking that went into that, but the chicks will come home to roost today. Kwankwaso, he's from Kano. What area is more conservative than Kano? And guess what? His running mate is actually a bishop. So that is how important this religious, permutation is. And I believe APC has overshot the runway. They've been too presumptuous to think that a Muslim ticket could easily give them a walk in the park in this election. This election will be different tomorrow because the world is now watching more than it did when Obasanjo was elected in 1999. And there hasn't been a shift in the date as we saw in the past election. Can you imagine a whole election was postponed?
At the diamond.
So between the day of the election designated day and the postponed date, anything could have happened. But the top guy, the boogeyman in charge of, regulating this election said, we won't shift the date. We're sticking to this day. And I believe that the PVCs have been widely, I think only a tiny percentage has not been
7 million
claimed.
collected.
So it means that a lot of people have taken what we call the voter ID card. They call it the permanent voter card. A lot of people have taken their vote. So I believe there will be an uptick in voter turnout. And I believe these issues will be important. And the issue of insecurity, the issue of, the economy, even though these are fringe issues, they are not deep-seated issues in determining who rules Nigeria. I believe some swing voters may look at...
economics.
I was in Abuja. Before I went into a hotel, the ambience was so tense. Investors don't want to live in a tense environment like this. And many Nigerian top people want to enjoy their money here in Ghana. So therefore, I believe that Ghana can chaperone Nigeria. We are older, even though smaller. We are older in terms of democracy. We are older in terms of independence and all that. And I believe we have a foot in the door already, that our former president is part of the observer missions that are working there. So we can only wish them the best.
What is this issue about, how do you call it, what has generally been termed as a self-inflicted crisis, currency crisis?
Yes.
Where Nigerians are struggling to.
It's a big issue.
To lay hands on their own crisis.
Yes, it's a big issue that might even affect the ruling party, our party. As a matter of fact, in fact, it caused a sharp disagreement between our candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, and the president, to the point that even President Buhari was stoned in some of the rally in Kano. The reason being the fact that the policy, cashless policy, is a good policy that we supported. Personally, and the candidate supported that idea. However, the execution, the implementation of this policy and is also ill-timed. How can you want to execute such a policy 2 weeks to election? Number one. Number two.
So ill-timed?
It's ill-timed, yes. Because, no, that's number one. Number two, the way of implementation. I mean, in Ghana, we enjoy, I don't use Ghana, even to buy fuel in Ghana, sometimes I use my Go card. I mean, load them electronically through mobile money and all that. I hardly use cash. In fact, maybe yesterday for past 2 weeks, I've been in Nigeria. I don't have anything on me, and I can live like that.
Okay.
However, you mop up the cash in the system, and the ordinary Nigerians cannot access the same amount of money. You are rather credited into your account, of which there are no equivalent infrastructure backing up the policy. You can't even, I'm telling you, I had to buy Naira. Leaving Nigeria yesterday, I had to buy Naira from somebody. Like, I buy Naira, not buying dollar now. You are buying your own currency. So this is one of the anger that people, even from the ruling party, are having with the president, to the point that he was taken to court from his own ruling party. And they believe that you are leaving, you say you want to have a legacy. Unfortunately, the timing of it and the style of implementation is going to, hit your party very hard. And that might affect our party today in this election, as a matter of fact. In the implementation style. Good idea, ill-timed, and very, very terrible style of implementation.
Does Muhammadu Buhari have any choice than to support Bola?
In Kenya, we heard that Ruto didn't have the support of his predecessor, and he eventually won.
Right.
And I think Kayode is saying that actually a vote of confidence on the performance of Tinubu as former governor of Lagos State is enough to win him Aso Rock. But on the issue of the scarcity of Naira notes, I think on face value, some have also argued that this is a strategy to reduce the monetization of the political process. Right. Look, Ghanaians file into Nigeria to go for campaign cash. And in some political circles, it's better to be made Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria than being made Ghana's ambassador to the United States. It's a cash cow. So that is for other elections. Governors can even choose to throw money at people from other countries. So in the lead up to a critical election like this, there could be a suspicion of stashing of the Naira.
Sure.
So therefore, why don't we redesign the Naira? So we throw a spanner into the works of people who want to monetize the process.
Yeah, right.
And in Nigeria, they don't have mobile money. What they have is the POS system, point of sale. And then it's not as easy as we have off of your phone. You do it. You don't need a bank account and all that. So I believe that this is a strategy to siphon campaign cash in the system. But as to which of them it will support or it will help eventually, whether the incumbent party or those in opposition, that will, a telltale effect of that will be seen 72 hours after polls close today.
It's really going to out the ruling party the more, because people see Buhari, they don't want to separate Tinubu, even though Tinubu has inched his own campaign or his performance as Lagos governor.
No, but he can't dissociate himself from Buhari.
Of course, but it's not going to be fair as well to judge Tinubu based on Buhari's performance. I understand they belong to the same political party. And I also want to point to the part that, yes, some of your points
you're saying that, before you come to the currency matter, you're saying that Nigerians will not see Bola's presidency as a continuation of Buhari?
At all.
As an extension of Buhari?
Yes, because the ideology differ. And he has even made
does
them
that
public.
differ?
Yes.
You mean party ideology?
Well, Buhari did not run the policy through the party. That's the truth. If you had run this policy implementation through the party, it won't see the light of the day. The party disagreed with it. The video is on why the party did the press conference. I know it cannot happen in Ghana whereby the NPP do a press conference to counter the president.
No,
It
that's
happened.
it's not possible.
Yeah, but it happened. The party
So
disagreed.
Tinubu is on his own.
Well, we can't say the president is even supporting.
So is it because he doesn't believe in his state's machinery?
No, he believes in him. He supported him to be president. In fact, without Tinubu, Buhari would not have happened, as a matter of fact. So people are angry with Tinubu because you brought Buhari to government. And some of the policies even hurting Tinubu himself. So I was in Lagos. I was at the grand rally, final rally a few days ago. And I can tell you that people are angry to the point that Buhari could not address some rallies. He has attended a few rallies this time around, only 4 or 5 rallies, as a matter of fact. So the issue is that in implementing any policy, the ordinary citizen of the people should be at the focal point of implementation of any policy in a democracy. And in a situation whereby, even though in the right picture is that you want to deal with a certain vote buying and all sort of things like that, the people should not suffer, as a matter of fact. I knew personally what I went through before I left the country last night. It's crazy, my brother. And the people are angry, and they might tell on our party today to make it bare on Asiwaju Bola Tinubu that you are part of this. And it is difficult. Only few people will understand to differentiate Tinubu from Buhari. They tell you they are the same. So these are the points that our point is that policy implementation in a democracy must take into cognizance the reality and the welfare of the people into cognizance before taking such a decision.
In closing, Moro, just like DRC, it is said that the mineral reserves in DRC can feed the whole of Africa. Nigeria alone, in terms of its human resource, should be enough for the whole of Africa. But sadly, I have a friend investor who is trying to do something in Nigeria. The lights cannot stay on. And you can't have privacy at home. In the dead of the night, a neighbor's generator will just be making a lot of noise. And this is the biggest oil producer on the continent. So therefore, I believe that it is important that whoever emerges president at the end of this election, let's look at pro-poor policies. Because when you go to Nigeria, the rich are super rich. They had Strasalco, we see them or we hear about them. And the poor would actually be lurking around a restaurant or an eatery. I'm even told when you go to wash your hand, by the time you come, somebody has taken the Almajiri system. Is a huge problem. So whoever wins eventually Moro, when Nigeria is in a good state, Ghana and the rest of Africa stand to gain.
Thank you very much. That's Irbad Ibrahim. Irbad Ibrahim is an international relations and security analyst joining us this morning for Inside Page. And I also want to thank Comrade Kayode Abubakar, who is the APC rep in Ghana, Youth Wing, and also Depo Oyewole, a strategy consultant, public affairs analyst, and Comrade Martin for joining us for Inside Pages today. I also want to say a big thanks to Felix Kwacho Fusu for joining us to talk about the John Mahama comeback. My name is Al Dumoro. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and bye-bye.